You know when you're trying to make your fourth day hair look okay and it's not gonna happen? Shout out to you, Mom. Fourth day hair. Hi guys, it's me, Ashley, in my barren form here. If you have never seen bare-faced Ashley in the flesh, hello, nice to meet you. I had a class tonight, and when I got home, I just scratched all my makeup off, took my pants off, which may or may not still be off. And if you're gonna ask, because I've had it asked before, no, I'm not sunburnt, it's rosacea. Get over it, I have. Welcome to my bedroom. I had to set up my lighting and this whole thing here. If I hit this cord right here, that's actually charging the device that's recording this video, everything in this room will just power down. So if we hit a blackout, it's not a blackout. So story time. I've been doing so many makeup videos I cannot speak. I've been doing so much in terms of like makeup, recording makeup videos and doing all that stuff lately that I've just like I may be a little nervous on camera right now just talking. I'm holding this chapstick, like playing with it like I have nerves and I need to put it down. If you watched my last story time, if not, you're going to. I'm gonna put a card right there for you. I talked about the time that somebody broke into my apartment while I was home alone. Really fun time. So at the end of that video, at the end of the story, whatever you want to say, I moved into a new apartment on the other side of the city that I live in. So I moved out of my last apartment at the end of July, which was, let's see, like April, May, 4 months after this whole thing happened. And everything was super good for so long. I was like, oh my god, it's so quiet here. Like you can sleep really easily. Neighbors are nice. For the most part, we have this really god-awful guy who lives upstairs with these big dogs, and he's a little man and he has little man syndrome, and I'm not a fan of him at all. So yeah, like everything was pretty normal. There were no like scary signs. I was still very jumpy. Now I'm trying to remember exactly when the first like problem arose, and it was probably one day my one roommate, one of them, had gotten a phone call from our management office in the apartment complex and asked if we could go down and talk to them. And we were like, what did we do? Getting called down to talk to the manager of your apartment complex is like getting called down to the principal's office. Like, no. I was like, to my knowledge, I don't think we've done anything wrong. Like, they shouldn't be kicking us out. So we go down to the office, and the woman who was working the desk that day said that the woman who lived underneath us had complained about us. And she said that we were making like atrociously loud noises all through the night, every night. She couldn't sleep, and then she thought that we were doing it intentionally. So we talked to our complex, and she was like, I totally know you guys, like I know that you're not doing this and like causing a ruckus on purpose, but like she thinks that way. She does have some mental disorders and whatnot, things that she deals with, so she's not 100% there. But if she talks to you at all, just let her know that you did, you know, like resolve the problem with us. So the timeline for this story is super long, and if I don't get it completely right in terms of order, I'm sorry, but it's like a chain of events. So at some point, I don't remember exactly, and I think this was what really first started it off, and yet my roommates neglected to tell me about this incident until things started getting a bit more crazy. So apparently our neighbor had run after my roommate's girlfriend at the time, like chased her out to her car in the parking lot and was saying something about how we were gonna corrupt her, how we were evil, this and that. You know, I wish I had known that before, because then a lot of these things would have made so much sense like later on. The next thing I remember, I was kind of like suspicious about her. I think my roommates and I talked a little bit about the situation, but not much. And I remember I got out of my car in the parking lot. To get to our apartment, you kind of have to walk like in front of her patio that's outside and go to the side stairs and then go up, and we're right above her. So I come home and I was snoopy because we were all kind of curious about this woman. And when I would walk by her apartment, I just kind of look in the windows. I wouldn't be like up against the glass or anything like that. But I just kind of look in, you know, I don't know, where else? We like to get in people's business. Like, if you don't, get out of here. I walked by her apartment one day and was just looking in the window very casually, and I'm seeing this in my head and I'm home alone right now and I'm like, "Argh." So as I'm walking by and just kind of like looking over into the window, she's standing there, face pressed up the glass with her hands here, with the most mind-blowingly and creepiest smile on her face. It was so weird. It was just the look that she had. It gave me the chills, and I won't lie, I ran up to our apartment and like locked the door behind me and texted my roommates and was like, oh my no. It was just really weird. Nothing had really happened up till that point. We were just kind of curious about her. She had done some like wonky things, but everybody has off days. So at this point in my life, this was probably, I can't exactly think of what time it was. I'll put the date of when this happened here because I can actually look into my stuff when I'm editing this. But when all this stuff was happening, I was dating somebody at the time. But one night I had been at his house and I got a text message and then a FaceTime call from both my roommates. And usually they would call me for stupid stuff and, you know, like just want to talk. And so I ignored the first one. And then when I got FaceTimed, I was like, okay, this must be kind of important because FaceTime's like this other level of calling. Like, you need someone's attention, you FaceTime them. I get on FaceTime with my one roommate and he begins to tell me how our neighbor downstairs, I guess, came up to the front door in our apartment, was knocking, and when my roommate went to answer the door, she like pushed past him into our apartment and was saying things about how we need to trust her or it's not going to work out. That we have to learn to trust her or things aren't going to work out. Like, at that point, my roommate, one of them was just standing there like, the fuck? And my second roommate came out and was just kind of like, lady, get out of our apartment, we don't know you, and she left. A couple hours, if even a couple hours, it may have been honestly like 30 minutes to an hour later, I got videos from one of my roommates where he's standing on our outdoor porch, which is directly above hers. Apparently she was like yelling on a phone call with somebody, and it's dark outside because it's like middle of the night, but on the recording, which I will insert in just a second, you can hear everything she's saying. So I'll insert some clips now.
I'm scaring the kids away. I don't like children. Get them out of here, John! You gonna drop some more names, motherfucker? Huh? Out of here with this guy now! It's no little trick. It's no little puzzle. And you're all a bunch of assholes. Ever! Just like you're feeling to blow up in your head! I don't care if I die! I'm a veteran, you asshole! You ever come to me child molester again? God will get you!
So basically we had 3 minutes of just footage of her yelling and doing all this stuff. She was taking a broom and hitting her ceiling, so it was like going to our floor. We could hear it from down below, or my roommates could hear it. I wasn't here, but still. And she was just screaming. So my roommate called the non-emergency police line because the things she was saying were talking about being things that I really don't want to talk about on camera, ever. You'll probably hear it in the video, so I'm just not gonna say it because no. It was enough so that multiple neighbors called. The police took about 45 minutes to show up to her apartment, at which point she barricaded herself in her place and would not answer the door to the police. They had no search warrant or anything, so they couldn't bust in there, like force her to open the door. So the cops left. Nothing happened to her that night. So the next morning I went to my apartment complex management people again. I showed them the videos, I told them what happened, and they were like, okay, we'll get our lawyers on this just so that, you know, we can start the eviction process because she's had so many different complaints and there's been so many times that she's violated her contract with her lease and yada yada. They ended up just telling us, like, if you hear anything at all in the next however long, call the police. This is where it gets hard for me because I understand so much, like, the fact that certain mental illnesses are just that, like, it's a disease. There are things that you can't control. Like, I get it so much, and that's what makes this story like kind of sad. She was bipolar, and she also had PTSD. She was a war veteran, and she seemed to have schizophrenia as well. I kind of understand, like, you know, motives behind certain things, and she had told our neighbors after chasing the one girl up the stairs into her apartment that we were spying on her, that someone had hired us to spy on her. There was a definite paranoia, but I just didn't want to know like what it could lead to. I didn't know her. I didn't know if she had weapons in her apartment, if she was violent, like what the history was. So I was very like by the books in the situation because it just freaked me out for my own safety, especially with the past incident. It was like noon the day after she was screaming that night, and I had gone back to my apartment after talking to the management. Me and my roommate just kind of locked our front door and we're like chilling. I think I was getting ready to go somewhere, I don't really remember. We heard her out in her patio yelling again. Supposedly on the phone again, screaming, middle of the day. There are a lot of kids in the complex, so like honestly, it's kind of scary in terms of that as well. She's yelling at me and my roommate hear it, and I was like, no bullshit, I'm done. I don't want to put up with this, like I'm calling the cops. So I called the police and the policeman showed up. I'll insert another clip right here.
You're gonna do it anyway.
Okay, no, just go up the stairs. I don't know what's going on yet. I want to make sure you're alright. I see that breach on your right.
No.
We had assumed all this time that she was on the phone with somebody because it sounded like she was having a conversation, but when I looked out my bedroom window here, which is where I took the video from, you can see that she's just holding her hand. There's no phone. She was apparently talking to herself. The policeman that showed up that day took her to jail. She was released 2 days later, which is where the really exciting stuff started happening. So they had served her eviction papers, but it didn't go through for like weeks. I remember specifically it was the night of the World Series, the Cubs, and we had just finished watching the game in the living room, and all of a sudden like we heard a knock on the door and it looked like our handle was trying to be opened. So we're sitting here, the fucking World Series happened, we were celebrating, and then our door handle starts moving. Everyone's home, so it's obviously not one of us.
Oops.
And then she knocks on the door and Josh goes and sees, oh, it looks like the woman from downstairs. So we're a little freaked out, and then we open the door a few minutes later and there is her medical marijuana in its container with her name on it, chilling at the door. She had apparently been prescribed medical marijuana, which totally fine by me, you do you. But when it arrives on our doorstep, it makes things a little more suspicious. My one roommate was like, what if we call the police? They're gonna think that they're, these are our drugs and we're gonna get in trouble. And I was like, no, they're not. If somebody puts drugs on your front door that aren't yours and aren't legal, you fucking call the cops. Yeah, so we said, fuck that, called the police. They said she got out today and is back in her place and there's nothing that they're gonna do. So, cheers. So the cops went downstairs and talked to her. She said something about her husband. Oh, he and I were just talking. He's inside. And the cops kept, asking, well, can we speak to him? And she's like, no, he can't talk to you. Saddest thing about this was that her husband died years ago. So apparently at that point, from what the police said, they talked her down. She was just being a little manic and that she'd be fine for the night. I was like worried. I was honestly, I just asked them like, do you think she has weapons in the place? And they're like, oh no, it's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, she'll be calm, she'll be good. And then proceeded, this is the kicker, and I was not happy after the statement. Oh, and just so you know, the doors on this apartment, us, policemen, we need a special tool to get them open, so I don't think she'll be able to get in. Just like, oh, that's so reassuring, thanks. They were gone. They didn't give a shit, basically. They were like, these kids are overreacting, nothing's wrong, and then 2 hours later, something needs to happen with this lady. She's out there yelling and slamming doors again. She was banging on our front door, she was yelling downstairs, she was slamming doors, she had thrown her screen on her sliding door to her porch out onto the porch, was making a ruckus, and I guess 2 other people called in too. So I called the police because it was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Thank you, cops, for taking care of this earlier. Not. So I called the police, and so did 2 of our neighbors, according again to the cops who we talked to the second time they came out. When we saw the cop cars pull up, because we can see the parking lot from our apartment, we're like, okay, perfect, things are happening. And they went to her apartment downstairs first and then came up to our place and knocked on the door. I went to answer. I looked at the people because I wanted to make sure it was the police, and there was, for sure, a cop standing in front of our front door, and he had a automatic rifle, and he had the friggin' goggles on. I mean, this man was decked the fuck out. Apparently someone called and said that they saw a laser pointer, which is really, really bad. I believe it's in terms of like sniper aiming, automatic rifles and whatnot. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not probably right, but whatever. He was totally like ready to go because that's a huge threat. I was like, no, I have no idea what lasers you're talking about. I'm the one who called in about her. And he's like, I know. We're gonna take care of her. We'll be up in a few minutes. So he basically scared the shit out of me. The cops went downstairs and talked to her, and they were going to arrest her again. So there were 2 police once again, and there was one downstairs holding our neighbor in handcuffs. And the way that our apartment works is that she down there could see up to where we were standing outside because we have like a breezeway in our apartments. And so she was looking at us, me and my 2 roommates with the police, and she was yelling, "Go get them, they're hiding something, look at them, they're out, go get them, go catch them, they've got something in there," like screaming about us. And at that point, the police officer that we were talking to was like, "I'm gonna go help my partner, get her in the police car, I'll be right back." He came back, and he also talked to our neighbors. He had really like handled the case well and had been there a couple times before, so it was nice that he came out this time. They took her away, and that was that. The eviction letter had been served. I think she had like 7 days before she had to move out, and we were just chilling for the time being. The next morning she got released again. And at 7 a.m. that next day, she was banging on our front door. My roommate, he had to go to work that morning and was afraid to like walk by her front door because he knew she had just gotten back. And so we kind of like poked our heads out our front door to look downstairs, and her front door was just wide open, but she was nowhere to be seen. So I called the police again saying, "Hey, I know she's been released. Her front door is wide open. I don't know, something seems weird again." And they were saying like, "Wait, the front door's open?" I was like, "Yeah, the front door's fucking open." And they were like, "Oh, okay, we're coming out. That doesn't sound good." Came out, talked to her, whatever, nothing happened, and she eventually got evicted. I honestly have no idea where she is, how she's doing now that she's been evicted. I just hoped that we kept calling her in to the police who were arresting her, but instead of helping her find, counseling or some kind of help that she actually needed, because she didn't have control over certain things that were making her do this. They weren't getting her help. They just kept sending her to jail and sending her to jail and sending her to jail. And like, I really hope that she got the help that she needs. Apparently her family didn't really care. No one was trying to take care of her. And it was sad. Very, very sad, and also super terrifying. Like, don't ever feel the need to stay quiet about something or somebody, like where you live, because if you have the power to change it, change it. And I have had past issues that still, like have certain effects on me to this day. So if I don't feel comfortable in my situation and if I don't feel safe, like I'm gonna do what I can to make myself feel safe. So I guess if you can take anything away from this story, it's just feel free to always look out for yourself and be selfish, even if it seems bad to do. Sometimes you have to do the thing that you don't want to, the thing that's gonna suck. But all in all, like I said, I really, really hope she's gotten some help. We haven't had any issues since. I mean, our upstairs neighbors are fucking elephants. I'm like, I'm sorry, but are you river dancing up there? And like I said, our other neighbor's a total tool, but we won't hold that against him. He's probably got a small penis. So yeah, that's story time. I wanted to tell this story, because it does very well like follow my first story time that I posted a couple weeks ago, but it's just another crazy kind of thing I went through and had to figure out, and I have, the Snapchat videos from it and stuff and all that is back there. So I think it's just kind of cool to actually like see the footage and hear it and all that dope shit. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this at this point. I'm tired and I'm rambling. So I'm just gonna end the video now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I like doing story times a lot, and I think it's chill to just do this whole thing or not do my other whole thing. You know what I mean. If you're any at all interested in following me on my social media platforms, my name on Snapchat is thashleyjohnson. Thashley. You gotta get a little lisp. Thashley Johnson. Put that right here for ya. And my Instagram and Twitter are both itsmeashley. The L is a 1. You'll see it. Hello. And if you're new here, subscribe. I post random shit and I want a family. I want a YouTube family so bad, it's really sad. Anyways, like I said, I need to stop talking. I'm tired. I'm gonna keep rambling, but thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. Nothing's new. Oh, I forgot. No, did I say subscribe? Subscribe. I'll put my face here. If you click my face right here, it will take you to my profile to subscribe, and then I'm gonna put a little thing right here for my last video. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go now. Bye!